So I just finishing playing a solitary game with from Race for the Galaxy, and I've decided maybe I can go over what is the solitaire part of that game all about, and do a quickly a overview of it. So let me set it up back to the beginning, and I'll talk about it. All right, the first thing to talk about is in the solitaire game. Obviously, you are going to play against a robot. And the robot, the way you're gonna decide what the robot's gonna do is looking at this board here, and that's the AI board. And we'll go quickly through what everything means. But to set up the game, before we go into that, you're simply gonna do like you will set up any two-player game. So the first thing I want to say is to play the solitaire, you will need to know how to play the advanced two-player rules. So if you look at the rule book on page 8. There is a two-player game for experienced player. So just read that, and it will tell you the different rule for the two-player game. It's not much. Pretty much, you're going to draw two phases instead of one. You're going to choose two phases instead of one. All right. So I'm not doing this video for teaching you how to play the game, but only to show you an overview of how the solitaire plays. So if you don't know how to play the game, you can always look at different video online. They will tell you how to play the game. I expect that you will know the iconography and also how to play the game to be able to understand the solitaire aspect. So what you will do first is every player will get 4 cards to start with. I have my 4 cards in my hand, so of course you pick 6 and you keep 4. Okay, so I put them randomly because I'm just gonna explain the game. The robot does have a hand, but the hand is face down right here. He's going to pick from this, and we'll explain how it works. He gets also 4 cards randomly picked, right? And you're going to pick a random word for you and the robot. I got word number 5, which is the separatist colonist, and he got the ancient race, right? That's word number 6. Now it's important to know what word number it is, because when you set up the board, it's going to depend on what kind of word you choose. The board might change a little bit. For instance, the first thing you see is this little thing here representing one of the face of the die is a robot. And this is going to change depending on what kind of word you're using. Okay, so instead of putting something on that face, they decided they're going to leave it with the robot sign. So depending on what word you're using, that's going to change. So how do you know how to change the board? Well, if you look in the back of the board, it pretty much tells you how you set it up depending on the word number here. So the ancient race is 6, which is right here. So the only thing we want to do is get that little board, which is a token, which looks like that. And if we look into our all the boards that come with the game, we can find it right here. And there's even a number 6 on top, which tells you use that for word number 6. There is nothing else, right? That's it. If you are on word number 7 or 5, then you will pick all this. And then when you turn around, you will simply, let's say you pick one of those, you will simply exchange what the robot will do here with that little card here, and you can see the difference. Like, it will take 3 cards here. On this one, it will pick 4 cards instead, so a little bit more choice here. But in our case, so you will pick whatever you need, and then you put it depending on the word. In our case, we only have this one, so we put it here. Now, that's all the setup for this part here. The top here is the credits. Normally, you start with credit 1 for the robot. But because we have word number 6, sorry about that, it starts with 0 credit. So we put the credit piece right here. And this is your, I'm not sure what they call it. I always forget the name for that. But your economy, that's what it is. Your economy is going to give you VP for the robot. The economy usually starts on 0, but if you add word number 1 or 4, you will start on 1. In our case, 0. And the board is set up. Put the dice next to us. Now in the Solitaire you do not use the card for the phases. You're going to use instead those two tokens, and you're going to pick your phase on the board right here. All the phases are right here. Remember, it's the advanced 2 player, so you can actually pick to develop or settle phase if you want to, because that's what comes with the advanced 2 player game. So now that you're ready to play, of course you get your 24 VP like you will do on a regular game, 12 VP per player on the side here, and also depending on the difficulty you want to play the Solitaire game, it gives you a choice here. Let me see if I can, okay, here it goes. The difficulty easy, you will pick one of the 6 VP chip. If you're on medium, 2 of the 6 VP chip, or hard, 3 of the 9 VP chips. What are those? It kind of represents 6 cost card, but here it is, there's one of them. This 6 cost card here gets you 6 VP. Sorry for the zooming of the video, it's not helping me today. And you put that aside, right here. You don't use it yet, and we'll see how you use that soon. Now you get everything you didn't use, but in the box. Alright, I got my draw pile over there for my card. Okay, this is the end for the robot, like I said before. My hand is here, and now we're ready to play. So the way you play is you choose first which 2 phases you want to do by using the tokens here. So let's say I wanted to, oh, I don't know, I want to pick some more cards, right? So I will choose phase, explore phase with the +1/+1, let's say, right? And my next phase will be maybe, I don't know, let's, looking at my card, I don't have much, but I do have a +1 military because I have the separatist colony, so I could play that card. I'm not going to go into, like I said, the rules and the strategy, so let's just do that. So I choose to, that's why you do it, I choose to explore, phase 1, +1/+1, and settle, right? One of them. Now the robot, how you know what he wants to do, you take the dice, and you're going to roll them. Here's what we picked. So let's talk about the dice first. What do they mean? One of the die faces this one, the eye. This is your explore. That means the robot, if he picks this, he will do the explore phase, development phase, settle phase, and we'll talk about this one here. This other phase as the what is it? The trade, consume, times 2 VP, consume phase, and finally the production phase here. Okay, which are all depicted right here. That's how the robot will choose his phase. You will draw the dice, and let's say you land on that. The robot will do a explore phase and a production phase. The way it works is once you get the dice, you put it in the first square that represents your dice. So if this is the explore, the robot will do the explore. Okay, we don't worry about the bonus when it comes to the robot or the AI, right? We just worry about to put it on the first one, the one the most to the left. And then the other one will be here. This is productions. So now if we look at this board, during that turn we will do an explore phase, both of us. We will have a settle phase and we will have a production phase. Yeah, that's simple as that. Now obviously your explore phase in this case or settle phase, the same than the regular game. You will do it by simply, you know, well, explore phase +1/+1 means you will take 3 cards and keep 2, whereas you know, the robot is a little bit different. The AI works differently. You're just going to look on the bottom here. There is two part, I would say, of the bottoms. There is that top part, and then there is a bottom part. It simply means the top part is pretty much what we consider the bonus for the robot, meaning he picked that explore, so he will do the top. He didn't pick the settle, so he wouldn't do the top, but he will do the bottom part. Simple as that, right? That's easy. So if he picked it, it does the top. If he didn't pick it, it still does the phase, but it will do what's on the bottom. In this case, here, sorry about that, here it will do, if you know the iconography, you know it will pick a card. So how does that work? Every time you see that symbol to pick a card, like the human will do, it pick a card and put it on top of his hand right here. Okay, only one. And then this means simply he will get 1 credit. So he has 0, so now he will be at 1. And that's it for his. Now, when you get to the settle in this case, it doesn't do the top, but after you've done your settling, it will do what the bottom says. In this case, it says, well, if you have a credit at least, which we just do, right? Remember, we just got one. Then he will draw 2 cards. So let's do that. 1, 2, put them on top. And then this means he will simply turn the cards that he just drew, I mean all of his hand really, all of those cards, he will draw or turn them until he finds a word. Not a military word, but a regular word, right? So that's what it means. You search for a word, okay? Like this will mean you search for a development. Once you find a word, then you stop and you put it on your tableau or on the AI's tableau. All right. So let's do that. You will do look for this. Well, now that's a development. So we put it on the side because we discard it. Here's one. That's an alien word. That's a pretty good actually. And then he will just go ahead and put that on his tableau like that. So now he has 2 cards. Right. And then there is something else that it says. If he actually did find a word, that's what it means, then he will lose 1 credit. So every time you see 1 arrow going that way, that means he loses 1 credit. If the arrow is going this way, that means he gains a credit. Every arrow means once. So in this case, he loses 1 credit. It's like he paid pretty much for that word. So an example here, there's 2 arrows this way, that means he would gain 2 credits, right? And so forth. That's pretty easy once you know the iconography of what happens. And now if you look at his tableau, he has 2 cards, right? And the rules same than the regular game. If you get to 12 cards on the tableau, then at the end of the turn, the game ends and you count the VP. The robot or the AI looks at all the VP he has on his tableau. He counts that. We don't worry about anything else but the VP. If he has a 6 cost card, you know, for example, if you had this card, then you would do for him what it says here. If he gets any more VP, you will count that too. Pretty much like the regular game. And if he has any VP on the side that he gained, again, you will count that. Now, there is one specific thing that we talked about before, is this little token. What it is, well, it's just to make a difficulty on the game harder or easier. But there is one place, like there is this development phase, that if, in this case, if the AI has 2 credits at least, then it will pick the one available 6 cost token, and then it will lose 2 credit, or it will remove 2 credit, like he paid for it, right? And then he will do what it says here if it's on this side, or he will do this if it's on this side. Then at the end, if he picked a development of 6 card, we're talking about the card here. If here he picked a 6 cost development, then he will lose a credit. So to do this little part here in parentheses, he has to have at least 2 credits, or depending if he does this one, he has to have at least 6 credits. And on this game, we only use 1. Remember, it's easy, so we only use 1. So once we used it, let's say we did do that for the AI, we get this, we put it here on the tableau, that counts as a card, right? It's the same as a card. What I like to do is I like to get a card that has been discarded, or just a card on top here, and what I like to do is I put it on the tableau face down, and I put the little 6 on top. So at least I can see from far there's 3 cards here, because that does count as a card, right? For his total. Alright? So that's the way I do it. You know, you can do it the way you want. Okay? If you had more than one, if you'd use the hard game or the medium game, you would have another one. Then the next time you see that again, you do the same thing. But if you add of it, like for example now, we only used the one and we already used it. It's right there. If you get to one of those space, you do not do this anymore. The parenthesis is gone because you've already used the token. So you only do what it says here. All right? And this is pretty much the way you play the Solitaire. The only other things I want to talk about is on the dice, there's two things that I think are very nice for the AI. It makes it a little bit more challenging and a little bit more like a real AI. This little board that we put here, what it does is it helps change one of the face of the die, which is the robot face, into whatever it says on the bottom. So depending on the word you picked in the beginning, like we had word number 6, every time you see that face, it's pretty much being replaced by the $sign, which is the trade. So you will look for the trade and you will put your dice here. Okay, every time you see that robot, that's $1 in this case for that specific thing. So that will change. You know, if you have another word, you see, if you have word number 4 or 7, it will be a produce, right? I think that's pretty cool. Also, on the other die, you have this asterisk. That means that the robot is going to mimic your face, or it's going to pick the same face that you picked. So if we were here and the robot would have, you know, get this as a die, well, one of them will go here. Remember? Here. And that, starting from the right side, you see the little asterisk, and going all the way here, you look for the first one that I picked. So you picked, or we picked this one here, right? Okay. So the robot will pick the same than us. So whatever the rightmost we picked, the robot will also be there. If we were here, then he would pick this one. That's what the asterisk means. It's going to mimic one of your phase. So that means that the robot can, even though there's only one die as the explore phase, the other one doesn't. Well, if you pick the explore phase and another phase, and the robot has this dice, it will go one here, because, well, in this case, no, it wouldn't do that because it would be already here, and the other one would be here, right? But if you pick two phase too, it would also be able to pick two phase. So you have to be careful when you pick your phases, that the robot will be able to mimic you. The AI will be able to mimic you. So if you want to keep him from, let's say, getting some XPs right here, VPs I mean, then you know you may want to limit the number of times you go here yourself, because for every time he has this, he will go here, but also every time he gets this, he will also go here. So he has 3 chances, as you can see. 1, 2, and 3. There is 2 asterisks, I believe. Actually, there's only 1. Okay, that's much better. Oh no, there's 1 on this die, that's why. So it's 2 on this die, 1 on that die, plus this. So you're talking about 4 chance, 50% chance that, oh, not 50, but 40% chance that you would get here. So you want to be careful what you pick. And that's the way a solitaire game. I hope that gives you an overview of how it plays. And trust me, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good AI actually for a solitaire game, and it's always kind of close when you play the game. Once you know how to play really well with the AI and you change word, then it changes tactics, so it keeps you interested and challenged. All right, that's it.